just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Akos.
And how are we doing out there this fine afternoon, evening, morning, depending on where you're at, because this is the Conservative Syndicate, a nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated. We are just all over the face of God's green earth. We're glad to have you with us this afternoon. And I am back, so glad to be back on the air here. We've actually been off for maybe the better part of 3 days now. Let's see, Friday, Monday, 2 days. 2 days. Just a lot of stuff going on out there in the world, personal and business-wise, and it just sometimes I wish I was rich enough to be like Rush Limbaugh and have Max Stein come on whenever I needed somebody to stand in. But it is what it is. We get on the air every single week, one way or the other, every single day, Monday through Friday, one way or the other. And that's what we do. I mean, the message is consistent, and sometimes you need to hear it over. Sometimes you do. I don't know about you. I always need to hear things repeated. And so it is what it is. Anyway, we got a good show for you today coming back. And we're going to have Denise Davis, who's running for the Senate out in Nevada, Harry Reid's stomping grounds. And so we're going to have her come on. And we got some other topics we're going to talk about here. But before I get any further here, let me get my partner in crime, co-host Joe Akos on. How are you doing tonight, Joe?
I am good, John. I'm doing better.
Yeah, you sound a lot better.
Heard Mr. Bruce talk about it. I can say as a Southern man, don't need him around anyhow. So there, Bruce. And you too, Brian Adams.
Outstanding. The stuff that's going on here right now, let me kick the show off with this right now. I find this comical. And I'm just wondering, I often wonder why politicians, maybe it's because once they get in office, they just don't think that they have to do anything. Everything just kind of runs itself in some degree, and all they have to worry about is getting reelected and building their campaign war chest. And but I think, this idea that there's all these celebrities out there trying to, quote-unquote, blackmail states into surrendering religious rights. They've been passing laws. I think we talked about it last week. Georgia had passed a law that exempted people on religious beliefs of having to partake in homosexual activity in terms of, public events, weddings and things like that. And it was designed and created to protect the church. Apparently, the governor of Georgia thinks they don't need protection. The church doesn't need protection because nobody's really coming after us. That was his reasoning. And then we find North Carolina now is being boycotted by several industries because of their passage of an LGBT law that forbids people who decide that they're not really what they are using public facilities. And so there's this big barrage of celebrities. Celebrities, the more famous and rich they are, the dumber they become when it comes to politics. I don't know what they call that, but it is the process of reasoning. It turns into something other than what it really is. Anyway, Bruce Springsteen, giving new meaning to the word born to run, has canceled a concert in North Carolina in protest of this law. And the reason I'm bringing it up is it's going to lead into another topic here, and we'll probably get into after our guest Denise Davis is on with us. But it's just funny how, I'm just wondering why these politicians, all these states, I think we have about 26 states that have passed some type of religious legislation. And what they need to do is they need to start getting together as a group and going out into Hollywood and saying, you know what, we're going to pass laws that we don't want you in our state because you support gay rights. And let's let these people now start suing to be allowed to come into the state rather than leaving the state. Let's get them completely enmeshed into this issue by saying, you know what, you don't want us, you don't like the idea that we as a state have decided that we're going to do something based on what the people in our state want, and you're going to try to blackmail us. I say, let's call you their bluff. Let's say, you know what, not only that, we're going to pass laws that says any celebrity, any Hollywood organization, any business that is pro-homosexual, we're not going to allow in the state. We don't want your money. We don't want you to come in. And watch how fast the gears would start turning, and they'd be suing for their civil right to come into the state and do business. What do you think, Joe?
I think I'm of the opinion of who cares about these leftist Hollywood celebrity? Who cares? I haven't thought about Springsteen in like 25 years.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the first things.
Brian Adams, it's another one. Brian Adams, hey, you freaking Canuck, go up to Quebec, go pee in whatever bathroom you went up there, you moron. Who gives a crap? Another foreigner trying to tell Americans how they should live and what their government should be doing or not doing. It's a state government, and it's allowed to. Hey, the voters put them in there. The voters don't like it. They can vote them out.
Yeah, I know.
Orders come in here. It's like, hey, Brian, you got a lot of American dollars in your pocket. Congratulations.
Yeah. A couple years ago, I actually made a commercial. I actually made this. I was going to put it out, but we had a problem with one segment of it with the audio, so I never ended up putting it out there. But it was called "Blinded by the Right." And it was about Stevie Wonder, who was refusing to tour in the country in states that didn't support homosexual rights. I think it was a homosexual agenda. It was something. He was mad about something, and I just thought, and so I made up this mockumentary about Stevie Wonder being arrested for trying to drive his own tour bus because nobody would drive his bus. and inside of the bus, you know how they marked the bus with the tour name? It was "Blinded by the Right," and I thought that fit so well with Stevie Wonder. So
could have had a bumper sticker. This bus is piloted by God.
So anyway, yeah. So Bruce Springsteen, and the real reason I put this out there, it was really funny. There was a long dialogue on my Facebook page about it today.
Oh, I bet.
Trying to explain to me that what Bruce Springsteen is doing is not discrimination. I said, well, is he not? This girl gives me this definition of discrimination. It's basing your judgment on perceptions of groups, people, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, is Bruce Springsteen not basing his perception of groups, meaning heterosexual Christians, and saying that we should be ostracized and we should be boycotted and everything else? So I'm thinking, okay, well, if that's the case, is he not as guilty of discrimination as anybody else is? And they were saying, no, it's not discrimination when somebody like Bruce Springsteen does it, because he's going after the law. He's not going after a person. I said, but his quote said, I'm doing this because of people, of those who are trying to take us backwards rather than forward. So I'm thinking, okay, that's discrimination by your own definition. But I guess when a celebrity does it or a leftist does it, it's not really discrimination. If it's when everybody else does it, that's when it's discrimination. So I just thought I'd throw that out there to open it up. We're going to do it in the second hour when we're getting ready to go to break here. We'll have Denise Davis with us, who's running for Senate out in Nevada. This sounds like a very interesting race. I was looking at the list of the candidates and everything. So we'll see what goes on when we get her on the show here right after our commercial break. We got to go right now, and stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and we'll be right back here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99.
Yeah.
Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV.
Yeah, I got it.
Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by CitizensUnited.org.
We're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hickles, my co-host.
That's me.
And what we're going to try to do here, we're going to try to get Denise back on the line. Do it that way. We are glad to have you on the show. How are you?
Oh, well, thank you.
How are you doing out there in Nevada?
We're doing great now that the storms have passed. It's a beautiful day. I should be on the bike.
Yeah. I was looking at some stuff regarding the contest out there in Nevada, and what I did was I lined up about 3-4 questions that I wanted to ask you. Now, I'm sure that will take up more than the time that we actually have allotted for you today. I wanted to, first of all, ask you, this is it may sound like an off-the-wall question, but I think it's something you may deal with out there, and I'm just curious how you're going to handle it. One of the candidates that's running also, because you're in the primary process right now, one of the candidates that you're running against in the primary is Sharon Angle. And she was once touted as, a Tea Party favorite out here when she ran against Harry Reid the last time around. But she imploded. She just really made some dumb mistakes, and it ended up costing her the election. And I'm wondering how you feel, because her re-entering this race is going to give the other side a lot of fodder and kind of a guilt by association thing. You guys are all in the same party, and Sharon Angle's the top weirdo of the bunch. What do you what do you think? Do you have any feelings about her running in the race based on what happened last time?
Actually, I don't. What was that, 2010? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was about 2010. Her and I are really not, I wouldn't even compare the two of us. We are completely two different people. But the feedback I get from my end and from different events that I go through is, listen, she's had her time. It didn't happen. And she's not garnering the support that she did back then in 2010. And I'm actually not worried about running against any specific person in this. It was the reasons why I decided to run is what's motivating me. So I really don't care who I'm up against.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that. I just thought, she was almost, at the time when she ran 2010, Harry Reid had an approval rating of 9% in that state. And I'm like, I know. You have to really go out of your way to screw that up. And I thought, well, she managed to accomplish that. And it was like, I just thought, when she comes back here, all that wacko stuff is going to come back and everything else. And you guys are going to get grouped into that one way or another, the way that they try to group everybody in all the races with, one or two people that maybe do something, not the brightest and the sharpest knives in the drawers kind of thing. And everybody gets kind of grouped with them kind of stuff. So I'm just curious. But having said that, let me get to your some of the other questions here on your positions, because there's a couple of things stated on your website in terms of your position that I just felt I personally needed clarification on. And you have one here, your position on the VA, restructuring the VA, reforming the VA. And I'm going to read you the quote you have on your website, and then I'll ask you the question I have. You said here that we need to grandfather current enrollees. Veterans should have the option to seek care outside of the VA system, but current enrollees who wish to continue to receive care within the system should retain the option to do so. So I'm reading that, and I'm, in my mind, processing that as you think that veterans should be able to seek health care outside of the VA system. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, now let me give you the hardball on this. Given the current state of Obamacare, it's an inevitable implosion and a lack of anything being presented when it does implode. How does getting care outside the VA benefit veterans?
Well, actually, that is a very good question, because Obamacare kind of put a glitch in all of that. Actually, are you familiar with the choice card by any chance?
I'm sorry?
Are you familiar with the choice card by any chance?
Yes, I have one.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I've talked to so many different veterans, and I don't know if this pertains to you as well. But even that, they thought that was going to be an answer to, the timely care, if you will, for our veterans by using the choice card. And as it turns out, it's actually ruining some of our veterans' credit line, because they go into a place and they use it, and either they're not being paid on time, and of course by using that card it goes under the veteran, and it's affecting their credit rating, or that particular doctor won't accept it. So they are having these glitches in the system as far as that. Right now, as it looks to the way Obamacare is happening, I mean, we all kind of had a feeling that this was not about care anyway. It was more about wealth redistribution. That is a huge issue. And I've been meeting with veterans and talking to them about their experiences, and I get them both sides. Some are just flat out frustrated, even to the point where I lost a friend last year. He just turned 26, and he just put a bullet through his head. He couldn't handle it anymore. And there's been those that have persevered the system and tried to find a way to make it work. But some of them are getting excellent care through the VA. Some of them have had no problems, but the majority of them still can't even get an appointment, and it's a year later. So as far as the choice for the veterans, our veterans, if you get beyond the bureaucracy, our veterans should be able to get care anywhere they go. Right now, if they live in Nevada, and let's say they're visiting, another state, and they have a health issue. Did you know that our veteran system, they don't talk to each other? They're working on a 30-year-old plus program that one VA won't talk to the other one. So he would have to carry his DD-214 with him, and it's become a major issue. I've received several calls on that one as well. But I think all in all, no matter what we do and how we handle it and get the geniuses at work here, get the engineers, we need more engineers, to figure out how our veterans can walk into any medical facility and to be able to receive the care that they need, period. Because the programs we've come up with always seem to have a glitch, a problem with it. So,
well, you're talking to two people here, myself and Joe Hakos, my co-host, and we're on opposite ends. We're at the opposite ends of the spectrum here. I have very good health care out here with the VA out here in Long Beach, California. I think it's very good, very good facility. Joe, on the other hand, has probably one of the worst that I've heard of.
Where's he at? Is he in Phoenix? Where's he at? No,
no. I won't go to the VA right now. I'll just thankfully I'm able to go ahead and I'll just use the standard old TRICARE system that they have and whatever contractor that TRICARE has.
Right.
And just do it that way. If I had. Now, I have friends that are trying to deal with the bureaucracy of the VA and trying to get their retired, and so they have this disability determination, trying to get whatever taken care of, and VA wants one thing, so they send it to them. The VA keeps on moving the goalposts, and so it's kind of they keep getting the runaround, and for stuff that's it's already been documented, but the VA. You show them the documentation, they want some other additional documentation. And it's dragging it out. John, on the other hand, has some really good stuff with the VA. There's the other bad. So just like you were saying, it depends on who you're talking to and the experience that you're going to have. And that shouldn't be that way. We should have some kind of similar experience, hopefully for the better, not the worse.
No, I totally agree with you. I've actually gone physically picked up veterans here that live within, of course, my vicinity, and I've helped them and walked them through the system and gone down to the VA. And when they closed, I don't know what it's like in Long Beach, but out here in Vegas, they called it due to money or lack of. They closed the pharmacies and all of the clinics. Now, I don't know what's happening in Long Beach, but that creates a major problem. As you know, not all of our veterans are mobile, and they have a limited mobility, whether they take the bus or walk a couple of blocks to be able to get to their clinic. And a lot of them didn't know that you can go to My Healthy Vet and actually do it online and to get their pharmaceuticals through online. Right. And if they do it 2 weeks ahead, it's always there on time. And I was helping a fellow, a Marine, and he didn't know that existed, didn't understand the whole internet system. He didn't get that. And we walked through the system down at the VA. And I'll tell you, the volunteers at the VA here in Las Vegas are phenomenal. And I do agree with you. It's a crapshoot. I mean, you never know who's on the other end. But for the most part, those that there are volunteering, they're actually extremely helpful. So, it's not always all nightmare stories, but it is a severe problem across the nation. And of course, as you know, this is the second anniversary of the whole waitlist scandal situation. And of course, as you know, we lost this year Barry Coates, who was the face of the scandal for the VA.
Okay,
and,
we've got to take a break here. We've got to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. I do have just a follow-up question on this in terms of reform in the Veterans Administration. We're speaking with Denise Davis, who's running for Senate out there in Nevada against Harry Reid and some other people out there, a whole bunch of people running for this office that must be very much desired. Anyway, we'll be right back. Stay with us right here. It's Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Okay, hey, we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm John Matthews, Mad Prophet of the Airways, along with my co-host, Joe, You Can't Handle the Truth Hakos. And we've got Denise Davis running for the Senate seat out in Nevada against a long list. Geez, when I was reading this list was almost like looking at the number of people that began the GOP presidential primary. Yeah. But, you know, I'm sure it's all going to get winnowed down here. On June 14th, I believe, is the primary out there, and we'll see who's left standing. Denise, I got one follow-up question here, because Joe has a question he wants to ask you also. If we assume here that veterans can, let's say it works, and we can get veterans outside of the VA system to get health care out there in the world. And my argument is, or my position is, as I said, knowing that Obamacare is inevitably going to implode somewhere down the line here, and that is the whole plan in the first place, to force us into some kind of single payer system. But the idea behind it is that if the funding for such treatment comes anywhere from the VA fund, then we're in the same situation that we are with everything else. The cost would be noticeable or remarkable, and they're not able to pay for what they're doing now. And that's why I was asking the question, given the fact that if Obamacare implodes, if the funding for outside treatment to veterans comes through Obamacare, then that's just another disaster waiting to happen. And so I guess I can see where you're coming from if the money to me is still coming through the VA. I guess that's the point I'm getting at.
Well, wouldn't it be great? I mean, I'm a small business owner. I'm not a politician. But I have found that the more efficient I am, well, the less money I spend. So wouldn't that be the same concept for the veterans' health care reform? Shouldn't we be more efficient? I mean, and all of this boils down to accountability. We have so many people within the VA, especially the higher management, that have no accountability. I mean, they can get away with embezzlement and still not lose their job. So what's their motivation to do their job if they know they can't get in trouble?
Oh, yeah, and that does qualify them for a position in Obama's cabinet. If they can't do their job.
Well, that cabinet's coming to an end, and, yay. But you know what? The health care for our veterans, first of all, this should never be a Republican or a Democrat view. This is an American issue, period, across the board. So we need bipartisan effort here. And it shouldn't be driven by budget, like I said before.
Yeah.
The more efficient we are, it will reduce the costs in care. Right now, the powers that be, they don't want to be bothered by the complaints of the veterans. So what do? They issue in more pills, more prescriptions. I have friends who are on 30 to 52 pills a day because they just don't want to hear me. Here's something for this. Here's something for that. Listen, people, that's not the answer to everything. Right. And it's actually not the best for you either. So I do have, I work with the wonderful gal, Vicki, and we are working on legislation regardless. Listen, win, lose, or draw, I don't stop my fight for my veterans. I've been a veterans advocate for years, and that'll never change. Perhaps by winning, I'll actually bring more of an attention to this situation than I am right now. But we do want to see more legislation done in regards to accountability and to be able to punish those that aren't doing their job. And perhaps that'll motivate them to be more efficient. It shouldn't be viewed as an avenue to reduce the federal spending when it comes to that. Look how much waste we have in federal spending as it is, giving billions upon billions of dollars to countries that hate us. And out of 192 countries that we have, we give money to 150 of them. I mean, it's ridiculous. And guess what? It comes in one big lump sum, one big, huge bill, a dollar amount, and Congress doesn't even get to vote on which countries get what. It's up to the president's discretion, and that's where that money goes. I say we stop giving money to people that aren't Americans. We should not be funding the refugees. We should not be giving money to illegal aliens. We should be taking care of our own. And for crying out loud, it's about time we put our veterans first.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Now, we got to move on here because of the time that we have. I'm going to forego our next set of breaks because I want to be able to get everything that we wanted to ask today. Joe, you had a question for Denise about term limits.
Yeah, term limits. I know Denise probably would like to see term limits come about other than just elections. But we see how elections are as you are finally going to get Harry Reid the hell out of office after 30 years.
Oh, by the grace of God.
Yeah, but God, to God's ears make this happen. But yeah, so, term limits. What do you propose for term limits? And there's this other thing about term limits that I don't think people understand what's going on in D.C. And let's hope you get to see this firsthand, Denise, when you hit D.C. They have a little training program in D.C. they're going to put you through. So they show you D.C. works. Oh, I'm serious.
But you know what? I'm actually the only candidate, by the way, out of all those 17 or 18 of us that's actually screaming for term limits. So thought I'd let you know that.
Good deal. So what would be a good term limit for a United States senator then?
You know what? I think 6 years max, and I'll tell you why. I know that the term is already 6 years, but we have senators that go term after term after term, and therefore we get, people like Feinstein, over 30 years in office. We don't need that. You know what? In 1947, Congress, passed a bill saying the president can't do any longer than 8 years or 2 terms, correct?
Right.
Well, why wouldn't that same concept work for Congress? Right now you have House of Representatives, our congressmen and women, who do 2-year stints, correct?
Roger that.
So they could actually do 3 2-year terms. And after the first 2 years, it would be up to the people in their state. If they are paying attention to what's going on, and they could reelect them or not reelect them, but they only have up to 6 years. Let's say a congressman says, you know what, I did my 2 years, I got the experience, I'd like to be a senator. Well, senator, 6 years, you've already done your 2 years, so perhaps there should be that ultimate limit of, okay, you did one term in Congress, you can get one term in Senate, but we need to stop. It only takes a few years for a representative or one of our elected officials to actually be bought and paid for by special interest groups. And what was his name, Abramoff or something? He's a very famous lobbyist. He even said, "Yeah, we don't want to establish new relationships every 6 years. They don't want to do that. So we're not here to serve them." So I say we do that. We do need to have term limits. I mean, for crying out loud, all we're doing is electing greedy people who, the longer they stay in power, the greedier they get. And greed is like a disease, and it just grows stronger over time. Well, we might not be able to cure that disease, but we can certainly limit the time.
That'd be great. I'd like to see that happen. But let's understand something. You could replace every senator and congressman in D.C. right now, and not a lot's going to change because of the staff that's left behind. So I would love to see somebody propose legislation that limits the staff being under federal underemployment in D.C. in the same way. Because you have the bureaucrats right behind the scenes telling you.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. Did you also know that there's a second option in Article 5 that we the people can actually pass a term limits amendment without Congress's approval? Did you know that?
Oh yeah, we could do a lot of things without Congress's approval. We're just going to have to. You're going to have the states get on board to do it. We've discussed Article 5 stuff before. Hey, one more other thing. Which is probably more important to you folks out west. Here, I'm in Florida. We don't have too much of this going on because, we just don't have all that land. But the land rights.
Rights now. Oh, dear.
Now, would it be nice to get some of the... Would you want the federal government to get out of land ownership, or do you want to have that go back to the state itself, or do you want that there for private use? How do you want to limit the federal government's involvement in owning property?
Oh, get the federal government out of every state. You know what? They were never supposed to own land to begin with. It's unconstitutional. But what happens is, and a lot of people don't understand, the president uses this little term, and I'm sure you guys have heard of it. It's called the Antiquities Act. Are you familiar?
Yes.
Well, it's a very misguided and outdated law, but it lends itself more to the abuse of the executive branch. They say that they're acquiring lands, so they can be preserved for national monuments and stuff like that. Well, that's not what they're doing with it, and we know it. Yeah. But right now, Nevada, my state, is 85% owned by federal government. Isn't that crazy?
That's beyond crazy. I mean, I understand some of it might just be a piece of rock, but still, they shouldn't own it.
Oh, no. And then you have Harry Reid, who is, of course, his little greedy little hands are involved in that, along with his son, Lori. And these little deals that they're making with the Chinese. I mean, we are losing. I mean, we're no longer going to be a sovereign nation, people. We need to pay attention. This land should not only go back to the states, but I think now, because of the political weather, if you will, people are starting to pay attention. They're coming out of their coma. We've spent years in a coma, called complacency. And people are starting to wake up and realize, hey, that's not what I elected you for. Or why are we electing the same people over and over again, expecting different results? Well, that's the definition of insanity. So people are starting to wake up and realize, listen, that belongs to us. We, the people, own that land. And they want to be told what needs to be done with this. We want to be able to vote on it, but it should go back to the land. Now, back to the state. Jason Chaffetz out of Utah, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but he's introduced a bill, I believe, with Senator Lee, and another, was it Hatch? I can't remember. But anyway, I believe it was last month that they were supposed to vote on it, about giving this illegal federal land grab back over to the states, but having, I believe, the sheriffs, they would like to be the line of defense, if you will, on that one. And that's all well and good, except if you do not have a constitutional sheriff, well, look at Nevada. There you go.
Right.
You know, so yes, it should be given back to the states because that's where it belonged to begin with. So, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Now we got I have two more topics here I'd like to get to. One is it's in line with what I was talking about earlier with the VA, but it's also in line with Joe was talking about. When you get to Washington, the first thing they're going to do is usher you into a room and try to put an implant in your brain and try to get you to start thinking so you'll fall in line with everybody else. We've seen that happen here. We've watched so many Tea Party candidates get into Washington, and just within a matter of months, they're just towing the line. And it's such a shame. You got a state out there, Utah. Mia Love was the latest victim of this type of thing.
I know, and that didn't take a very long time, did it?
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't take long at all. I think she was there a week. You know, it's just like, and then the other idea with the term limits. You know, according to Dianne Feinstein, 8 and 9 years as a senator is not enough time to get anything done or accomplish anything. She was asked about Hillary Clinton as a senator. Well, she didn't really do anything, but she was only there 8 years. So, you know, there's your reasoning there. But I want to switch over here.
That's just incompetency.
Yeah. Anyway. Now, according to Obamacare, this is one of my key questions that I talk to anytime I talk to a Republican candidate. I keep hearing from the Republican GOP across the board, even Ted Cruz, who I happen to like very much. The idea here is to repeal and replace Obamacare. And I want to ask you, are you in favor of replacing Obamacare, or are you in favor of just repealing it and letting it go back into the free market?
You know, I've thought a lot about that because I try to read the views of, well, I think Ted Cruz is very, very intelligent, and I tried to read his views on that. But I'm also disturbed of what he said many years ago about a global takeover. I'm not really, I don't see a problem with the free market. I don't see a problem with people before getting their own insurance, and you know it creates well, you know, you get price wars. You know, you have competition. Competition is always great. It's a better system. But I'm going to have to say I'm not an expert on it yet. I have my pros and my cons on both sides, and but definitely Obamacare has to go away because it was never about care to begin with. That was just, I can't believe the people that fell for that. And Pelosi saying, you know, well, in order to find out what's in it, we have to pass it. I mean, what a nincompoop. And people fell for that. Oh, well, it's over 3,000 pages long, so don't bother reading it. Please just pass it and give it to us and we'll figure it out. So, no, I do agree with Cruz on that end to a certain point, but I'm not 100% convinced yet. I know there's got to be a better way, but repealing, for sure, you're done, you're over, it's out. We've spent billions of dollars on the systems from failed systems in each state to be able to sign up to, I mean, it's just, it's out of control. And everybody was told that they can keep their plan, they lost their plan. So that doesn't work. So any type of system where you have the one payer thing, I don't think it works. I think we need to start steering away from socialism type countries and how they offer their health care to, you know, I do like the idea of the free market here so people can shop and find the plan that's best for them, because not one size fits all. I mean, if you have a couple who's in their 70s, do you think they need a plan that covers birth control?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, Joe and I are still looking to use up our maternity leave.
Right. I mean, there's so many different issues that I think it should be individualized and customized for, you know, what you're looking for. What about a 25-year-old guy who's, well, not married yet, but yet, you know, the law says you have to have insurance, so there's got to be a plan for him.
Right.
So I think we need to really put a little more thought into that. But in the meantime, it should go back. I remember, you know, growing up, my dad would go, oh, look, you know, he would always look over his insurance policies and see, oh, is it time to, you know, do a little price war here? And he would put everything out from the car insurance to the house to, you know, to help. And he would give it to, you know, the best price, the person offering the best price and the, you know, the best offer. So, I kind of lean more toward that. So, I mean, I think as Americans, we should have the freedom to choose, period.
Right, yeah, because what we're hearing from the GOP, from almost every candidate, is repeal and replace. And the general perception that I have, or the general, it's like very ambiguous. What they're saying is, well, the state should be granted state grants, which still involves the federal government, which still puts taxpayer dollars out there, which still allows the federal government to set mandates, either through blackmail, we withhold funds if you don't do certain things, that kind of thing. So I'm one of these people that just thinks we need to repeal it, and it needs to go back to free market. Now, there are things that can happen. We can tear down the borders. We can allow international competition with pharmaceuticals, and that will drive the price down. That's my position on it. Let me move on to my last topic here for the time that I have left here. Common Core, which is one of my pet peeves. We have, again, you're going to be going into a very heavily establishment-controlled environment, and you're going to have to deal with the likes of the Bushes, who are very instrumental in the implementation of Common Core. Jeb Bush and Neil Bush in particular. Neil Bush is helping to actually write the curriculum with Bill Gates, some publisher over in England. Now, you're going to go in here with the idea of getting rid of Common Core, and I'd just like to know if you can tell me how are you going to do that when you're going to be faced with very stiff competition or very stiff resistance, and you're going to be a freshman senator at the same time.
Well, I'm still kind of a pain in the old patootie, so one way or another, they're going to hear me. My husband will tell you, I'm a handful. So I don't know what that means, but he says it all the time. Anyway, I can be a thorn in someone's side. Listen, I'm not going to Washington to make friends. I have friends. So I'm going there as a voice for the people of Nevada. And the people of Nevada are done with Common Core. There's more homeschooling out here than you can possibly imagine. People are pulling their kids out of the school, and they're not standing for this. They're not standing for it at all. Mm-hmm. So should it go back to the states, responsibility to states? Why not? Why does the federal government think that they have to have their hand in everything? They can't run crap. Right. Everything they have their hand in fails. It bankrupts. Look at our $20 trillion debt. That's federal government for you. That's how they manage stuff. Well, enough already.
Would you be in favor of demolishing the Department of Education?
Well, you know something? I kind of would, especially when I found out. Are you guys aware of this, that the Department of Education is an armed three-letter agency? Did you know that?
Yeah.
Why is the Department of Education armed?
Well, I've always thought that was something...
It's out of control. But, you know, when it has involvement with the federal government, we don't need it. And with this blackmail tactics, as you said before, so you won't get federal funding if you don't do this. Back when I was in school, you know, the states are the ones that, you know, that put toward that. Individual families donated. They bought supplies for this classroom or that classroom, and somehow we got through school great, and we had great educators. So how did that happen? Right. I mean, what happened over the last 40 or 50 years when it came to education and the parental involvement? I mean, parents were involved. We had a PTA. My mother was president of the PTA, and it was not unusual to see a parent or two parents at the time in your classroom on any given day. They were participant with the teacher, so they knew everything that was going on. In other words, our teachers were being watched like hawks.
Right.
Okay. They were being watched. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to interrupt you here because we're out of time. We're out of time here. I wanted to give you a moment to let people know how they can find your website, your Facebook page, all that good stuff, so they can find out more about you.
Okay, you can reach me at DeniseDavis.com, and that's DeniseDavis.com. There is links there to my Twitter and my Facebook. Then I'm at Denise Davis for U.S. Senate on Facebook, and you do spell my name differently. It's D'_NESD.
All right, my dear. I really appreciate you being on. We are going to post a link on our website, the Conservative Syndicate, that will take our listeners to your website, so we'll help you out there. And I really appreciate.
Thank you so much.
I do want to touch base with you because I am intrigued by your campaign, and I got anybody that can drive a chopper. I'm cool with.
Yeah. And carry a gun. Don't forget
I was going to mention the weapon part. The carry part was pretty awesome too.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay, this makes Sarah Palin look like a wuss. I'm telling you guys.
Yeah, wouldn't you want your senator going to work on a Harley with a gun on her side instead of with a bunch of bodyguards in a limo? Tell me what you want to see.
Okay, my dear. So thank you, and I do want to have you back before the primary, if that's okay with you.
Oh, I would love it, and I'll see if I can get my Skype to work, huh?
Okay. Okay. Well, what we'll do next time is we'll check it out next time. We'll run a test on it and make sure that it works the way it's supposed to. Okay. Thank you so much, my dear.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Okay, guys. It's time now for the Edwards Notebook, and then we'll be back in just a moment with more of the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
When I was a little boy growing up in Cleveland, my dad often talked about loyalty to family and loyalty to country. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards on today's page from the Edwards Notebook. If there are inner squabbles within a family or nation, the last thing a family leader like a dad or president of a nation should ever do is publicly proclaim that they welcome criticism from one of their biggest enemies. But that is exactly what President Obama did during his visit to Cuba. To quote Mr. Obama, quote, I actually welcome President Castro commenting on areas he feels we are falling short, unquote. I find this totally not right, considering that Cuban leaders are brutes who lock up citizens for going to church and have totally decimated the Cuban economy. Obama doesn't need any help in ruining the U.S. economy, by the way. Besides, Cuban leaders annually school Congressional Black Caucus members on how to dismantle American life through disruption and deception. Mr. Obama's faulty judgment is a sad reflection of the bad judgment that American voters made in the last presidential election. Prayerfully, the next choice made for U.S. president will actually benefit our republic, who, for starters, would be loyal to America. I'm Ron Edwards.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Saying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Akos.
And we're back, and this is Hour 2, the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host, Joe Akos, and we have also with us, joining us a little bit early today, but that is just fine with me, Don Dix from Act for America, doing his bi-weekly contribution here at the Conservative Syndicate. How are you doing tonight, Don?
I'm doing fine. You copy me well?
Yeah, you're coming in well. Let's see, you're coming in a little bit high here on the volume end.
You're blowing us up here, buddy.
Oh, no. Well, I'll tone it down then.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Perfect.
Oh, my, that's so much better, Don. Thank you for being so much better. Don, you okay, brother?
I'm doing well, but the real question is, Joe, how are you?
Oh, I'm just hanging in there. Well, it's a matter of opinion, but anyway. So I'm getting better, man.
Good.
Thanks
to hear it.
Thanks for. This is Hour 2, and I'm still here, so that's improvement.
Wow. Well, it's great to hear your voice, man. Missed you.
Oh, I've missed being here. Actually, it's good. It's good to have a place to be missed.
Except work. Who cares if they miss you at work?
Well, I got to get back to work eventually here. I'm not independently wealthy, and that frickin' Trump guy, as much as he cares about me, he's not throwing any bones my way.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. We're in the short segment. This is our short segment. We'll be on here for about 5 or 6 minutes. We'll go to a break. We'll come back and get into the real meat of the stuff. Let me get your take on this real quick here, Don. We were talking about this at the beginning of the show. Bruce Springsteen has canceled the concert in North Carolina because he's unhappy with the North Carolina LGBT law that says that people who decide that they're other than what they were created to be cannot use public facilities. It's kind of like the bathroom bill out here in California, but general public. And they said basically the gender preferencing thing doesn't work. You can't use facilities just because you think you are something other than what you are. And in line with that, you had a lot to say last week when we talked about the Georgia governor vetoing the religious freedom bill out there that was written for the purpose of protecting churches against being forced into conducting marriage ceremonies and stuff like that. Are you up to date on what's going on here in North Carolina?
Well, I am. And actually, we had a fellow by the name of Frank Turek, who's a Christian apologist and very up on this from North Carolina, lives in Charlotte, knows Lieutenant Governor. And we had him on the show. It was very interesting because apparently this is another situation, speaking about Bruce Springsteen and PayPal and other, I guess Charles Barkley also was calling for some action by the NBA regarding North Carolina. This is a clear case of the left ignoring the facts about what it was that prompted this bill in the first place, which was the fact that the city council, I believe it was, in Charlotte, passed a bill that exceeded their constitutional authority. So the state stepped in and passed this law. It was signed by the governor, and then all H broke loose. And the lieutenant governor on CNBC was interviewed in an interview that was clearly demonstrating the bias of the CNBC hosts that were interviewing him, who were almost indignant about their position, really weren't paying attention to the facts. But there's this interesting little wrinkle. The lieutenant governor said, I've talked to some of the business leaders that are calling for this quote-unquote boycott or whatever it is, and none of them had actually read the bill. They were right. They were all going off of what this activist organization was saying, and none of them had bothered to go out and try to get the facts.
Well, that would take effort and work. That would be called, you'd be responsible.
Right?
Well, why didn't somebody just tell them, hey, we have to pass it to find out what's in it?
Well, then there's that, but that's not what we do on the right. We actually try to operate with some transparency and logic, but it's absurd. And then to have Bruce Springsteen weigh in, it's like, you know what? I've never been a Bruce Springsteen fan. I know some people who are, and they've took to Facebook and said, "Good riddance, Steve." I mean, good riddance, Bruce. You know, this is just another opportunity for us to point out the hypocrisy of the left and the denial of facts. This bill was actually an anti-discrimination bill,
right?
And it actually was embodied what the federal government has already said about discrimination. So to say, and now of course Mississippi has their religious freedom law that they just passed, and I'm standing in the stands applauding these guys, because this is the kind of thing that these folks need to be doing. They need to stand up and push back on this leftist, ill-informed, ill-advised, and ill-conceived narrative that's only based on emotion,
right,
not facts.
My take on it was, we were talking about it at the beginning of the show, my take on it was that we have several states, I think like 26 of them out there, that have passed some kind of religious freedom legislation dealing with this type of issue. And I'm thinking, why don't states collectively start telling entertainers and celebrities and businesses, hey, if you're pro-homosexual agenda, we don't want you in the state. And then what would happen is those businesses would start suing to be able to come into the state. I think we need to turn the tables. Somebody needs to start standing up and saying, you know what, we don't really care if you come here or not. Because you
right.
come and go, that kind of thing. So,
and there's one little inconvenient fact that the broader media has forgotten to publicize about this. The Charlotte Business Guild is at the root of the basic group demanding unisex bathrooms in North Carolina. And there's a fellow that heads this up by the name of Chad Severance. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Chad Severance has gotten a little more attention than he wanted. Documents now attained by Breitbart reveal that, well, he's a registered sex offender. He's convicted of molesting children who were put under his care as a youth minister. And this is the guy that's leading the Charlotte Business Guild. It's an LGBT organization that's been one of the most vocal opponents of North Carolina's new law that restricts the idea of a unisex bathroom. And furthermore, the other piece of this that I think people need to understand is this bill only applies to public state-run facilities. Businesses, according to the governor and lieutenant governor, they're free to do whatever they want to do. Right. There's no restrictions or requirements on their part. If they want to establish unisex bathrooms, more power to them.
Right. Okay, we got to interrupt you. We got to take a break here. This is our short segment. We'll be right back with myself, John Matthews, Joe Hakos, and Don Dix from Act for America. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Okay, we are back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate. We want to remind you, you can check our site out, theconservativesyndicate.net, and catch this show, any of our shows, find out anything you want to know about our panel here at the Conservative Syndicate, theconservativesyndicate.net. We've got Joe Hakos, my co-host, and Don Dix from Act for America with us. If I could kind of shift gears here a little bit, one of the things that I'm seeing out here, I'm really trying to stay away right now from the GOP primary.
Oh, come on, Joe.
No, the thing is just boring the living hell out of me, to be honest with you.
Really? What's so boring about it, John? It's not like it's the same thing day after day or anything.
Yeah, it's the same thing, you know. Somebody changes Trump's diapers, he gets out there and starts whining and moaning and groaning. Kasich is, oh yeah, I'm going to win this thing no matter what. And Cruz is trying to do whatever he can do, you know. It's like, and I'm incensed with watching the mainstream media stuff out there, especially Fox News. I'm like, hasn't anybody told anybody over at Fox News that this really doesn't matter what they think? It's just become so redundant for me and just rather depressing. But so I thought I'd stick to some real things that are going on.
Perish the thought we'd talk about real news.
Yeah, real news.
I mean, we've got DOD school teachers and everything being evacuated out of Turkey because of terrorist threats. I don't know. There's other news out there, though. I mean, we could probably talk about. I don't know. I was going to buy some paint the other day.
Well, on the other hand, I'm not bored with what's going on the Democrat side. And the reason I'm not bored is because Bill Clinton is jumping in the middle of everything. And it's always fun to watch this guy screw everything up. And he's out there. He's done a couple of really stupid things the last couple of weeks.
No.
He came out last week, I think it was, and talked about getting, if you're tired of the failure of the legacy of the last 8 years, then you need to vote for Hillary Clinton. I guess forgetting the fact that his wife is promising to duplicate everything Obama has done. But he's been getting into these arguments with Black Lives Matter people at rallies. These people have been showing up at Bill Clinton rallies and railing against him about the 1994 Criminal Act bill that he signed into law, which is being blamed for the massive disproportionate incarceration of blacks across the United States for crimes. Now, the reaction to all this has been Loretta Lynch is out there issuing directives to municipalities and cities, basically telling them, if you don't stop fining people for committing crimes, we're going to pull federal funding from you. And so she is on the other side of this thing, basically saying, we don't want you enforcing the law anymore because it's disproportionate. It happens to be, federal studies show that more blacks proportionally commit crimes than any other minority in the country, but I guess that doesn't mean anything, because the fact that there are more proportionately, what's the word? Pro rata? Is that the word?
Yep.
Okay. And so this is this great disservice that we're doing to the black community. And what I really kind of get a kick out of here is, like I said, first Clinton's downplaying the legacy. The legacy of Barack Obama is what he tried to walk that back, but he couldn't, because he said it. I mean, if you're tired of the failure of the last 8 years, and then the 7 years before that, meaning it's all been screwed up since he left office. That's basically what it is. And so now he's having to try to walk back these comments about Black Lives Matter. He's getting protesters, and he's basically arguing with them, saying, but you guys are killing people, and you're killing the black lives that you say matter. What he's talking about is black on black crime, something liberals don't want to talk about and don't want to recognize. But I think Bill Clinton is not, when he gets up there, I think he's kind of flashing back and thinking that he's the president again, and forgetting that he's supposed to be out there campaigning and helping his wife, and he's not helping her at all. So I'm curious, Don, I know you're on the radio every day. What are you hearing on this, or what's your take on all this?
Well, you can't dodge the truth for very long, and if you're in the position that he's in, which is campaigning for his wife, every once in a while the truth is going to sort of leak out. And that's exactly what's happened here. For him to be able to differentiate, do you want 8 more years of what Barack Obama's given us? Which, on the one hand, she says, there's elements of his presidency that we're going to continue. And I think she's referring to things like Obamacare, other policies that she would probably have to agree with, especially in the area of foreign policy. But when Bill Clinton gets up and says, we have a failed, 8 years, that it's pretty clear that, some of the people out there that have written about the blood feud that exists between the Clinton family and the Obama family, there's an element of truth to that. Mm-hmm. They tolerate each other for the purposes of being able to continue their reign at the food trough of the public. But when it comes right down to it, Barack Obama is his, by and large, I think that to be fair, we could probably have a very short conversation about the things that he's done that we could say were good or that work. But it's a very long conversation when you talk about the things that he's done that haven't worked. I mean, I've got a cheat sheet in my show prep that's pages long of stuff that he's done right out of the box, with the stimulus package that turned out to be, quote, not so shovel ready.
Yes.
All the way up to even recent things like when he was on the show with Chris Wallace, admitting that his whole reason for going to a ball game was to demonstrate our resilience. Well, you know what? Maybe George Bush should have just kept reading to that elementary school classroom to demonstrate, America's resilience in the face of terrorism. Because you can't have it both ways.
Was the ball game in Cuba though?
Yeah, it was in Cuba. But
Yeah. So that's our resolve. It demonstrates our resolve, how we give up. I don't know how many told years of Cuba, you better straighten up. We're never going to get around. Oh, gee, we get this guy in there. We just give it all up. Cuba, you keep on doing exactly what you're doing because we give up. We want to be your friend now. Come on, resolve. Yeah.
Well,
no, I'm sorry, Don. There's enough failed policies of Barack Obama. We don't have enough time left in this decade to cover them all.
And not even when you talk about the time or the effect this is going to be, the cause and effect, if we can ever reverse this, how long it's going to take to do it. But, Don, you hit on something here that kind of was where I was leading to by starting the conversation out here, is the number of things that the Democrats have done over the course of the last 5-6 decades that have really helped destroy the country, the foundation of it, and stability of it, and yet these things are being blamed on the Republicans. When we talk about such a thing, like you were talking about the interview with Barack Obama and Chris Wallace, which I thought for the most part was pretty softball. I thought Chris Wallace could have come at him a lot harder, but I guess they're figuring, it took us 8 years to get him on the show, so we don't want to piss him off. I don't know what the thought was there, but he was, when Obama was trying, the game that Chris Wallace played, the association game. What was your best day? What was your worst day? I'm thinking, wow, what a lightweight, and they spent no time. The media has spent no time out there talking about some of the things that Obama talked about in depth, like his reasoning behind choosing Judge Garland out there for a Supreme Court nominee. The answer he gave on his worst day or his biggest mistake is not having a backup plan for Libya. I mean, that should have been like, when I hear stuff like that, or when he's talking about Hillary Clinton's security breaches, he's like, well, it's carelessness, like it's nonchalant. Oh, she was just careless, like no big deal. These things, I'm like, why isn't anybody zeroing in on this and pointing out that 3 times during that interview he referred to what Hillary Clinton did as being careless? And now you're going to tell me that what is she going to do when she gets in the White House? How careless is she going to be when she gets in the White House? What do you think?
Here's the thing, John, is he helped participate in her carelessness because he was emailing to the same private email server that she had.
Right.
So he knew definitely about it. Now, if I remember right, I recall somewhere he said he didn't know anything about the email server.
Yeah. Well, he also said he didn't know anything about the IRS scandal. He read about that in the paper. I mean, there's a list of things he didn't learn about until it was made public in the papers.
Well, this is how you guys have brought up a couple of things here. This is how they get around this stuff. They walk around it in that little eggshell fashion. It's like Obama said, I knew about the email, but I didn't know about the server. Now, I for somebody who's supposed to be so socially media adept and understand how social media works, how do you have a private email address at Clinton.com and not have a server to service that? I mean, that if you have your own private email, you have to have a server to do that. So the idea, well, I didn't know it was a private server. Well, what kind of server was it? And she didn't go to GoDaddy wasn't hosting her email at Clinton.com. So,
well, exactly. I mean, since you bring up the whole email thing, there's, his comments during this interview is a very telling interview because one of the things he says, well, there's classified and then there's classified.
Yeah.
The documents that she signed did not distinguish between, there's classified and then there's classified. Ignorance is not an excuse of what she did, of the things that she did. And so many people have weighed in on this, whether or not it matters, that it doesn't matter. She said Clinton didn't intentionally put America in jeopardy. And furthermore, he says, he guarantees that there's no political influence in the probe. The mere fact that he talked about this indicates political influence.
Yeah, exactly.
His proper response at that point should have been, Chris, I know as much as you might want to talk about this and have me weigh in on it, I can't because there's an ongoing investigation.
Right.
Which he said anyway. He said that anyway.
Yeah. And then he goes on to talk about all these other things. Didn't intentionally put. It doesn't matter whether you intentionally put. Well, I suppose it does. And, we just had a Navy officer convicted of treason. And so I suppose that would be intentionally disclosing versus having your own homebrew server where it's at risk, it can be hacked, and unintentionally letting it hack. Did you guys hear, by the way, about this, that there was a hacker who has been extradited to the U.S., this guy out of Hungary, who is one of the most notorious hackers. This guy named, his last name is Lazar. He appeared in an Alexandria, Virginia courtroom for a detention hearing on Tuesday. He's expected to be held in the U.S. for 18 months, but he was previously serving a 7-year prison sentence for hacking crimes in Romania. And they brought him in because, get this, he says, I used to read Clinton's memos for 6 or 7 hours a day and then go do the gardening. So this is somebody that's been extradited to the U.S. so that the FBI can interview him about whether or not he was actually hacking Clinton's emails. So whether or not it's intentional or not is moot as far as the law is concerned.
I always tell the story of the guy I was in school with when I was in the Navy, and we were studying anti-submarine warfare. Everything we had was secret.
And then there's secret.
Yeah, secret. And we had to study in vaults. Actually, you had to go into vaults to be able to study. And the guy that brought flashcards into his bunk and was found by the fire marshal who had come through to inspect the barracks and found these cards. I'm sure he wasn't intentional that he did that. He thought he needed to cheat sheet. He needed to study a little bit more. But the 10 years he pulled in Leavenworth, I'm sure he lamented the unintentional breach of this kind of information. I agree. The idea that it was by accident or unintentional or whatever, and she didn't intentionally. That got me. I moaned. I went, oh my God. Oh, she didn't intentionally do it. Okay. Well, when we're fighting some type of a third world country that gets our hands on information, allows them to build a nuclear warhead, are we just going to say, oh, well, you can't really do that because it wasn't meant for you to get that information? I mean, it's insane. We got to go to break, guys. I got to cut it off here. We got to go to break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Don Dix from Act for America, Joe Hakos, and myself, John Matthews. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Time for Moments of Madness. Today on Moments of Madness. The recent violence that has begun to appear across the country at Donald Trump rallies underscores the truth embedded in the old adage, those who failed to learn from history are too often the idiots that blindly repeat it. Beginning with the removal of Black Lives Matter activists in Georgia, who may have, in all fairness, just wanted to stand silently in protest during Trump's speech, to the sucker punching of a protester being removed for disrupting Trump's speech in North Carolina by a Willie Nelson-looking cowboy, to the 37 arrests for assault, including a very bloody protester in St. Louis, to the nearly riotous outburst in Chicago that led to the hospitalization of several attendees, among them a MoveOn.org organizer. These series of incidences resurrect for those of us older to remember the 1968 Democratic National Convention. The 68 Democratic Convention was a brokered convention brought about by Lyndon Johnson declining to run for re-election, along with the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy within a month of each other. Kennedy was running a close second to then Vice President Hubert Humphrey, who had garnered establishment delegates outside traditional primary protocol. Humphrey was the establishment choice. Kennedy, an anti-Vietnam supporter, the people's savior. Also present at the 68 convention was the anti-establishment movement Youth International Party, known as Yippie, led by Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, and the National Mobilization Committee to End the War in Vietnam, called MOBI, led by David Dellinger. Over the course of 4 days, violence routinely erupted on the streets of Chicago, resulting in 589 arrests, 119 and 100 injuries to police and protesters, respectively, and the death of a 17-year-old stopped for a curfew violation who pulled a weapon and fired upon officers. Here's the madness. Parallels between the 68 convention and what we see playing out today are more than eerie. For instance, there was once again the prospect of a DNC brokered convention, this time to ensure an establishment nominee wins with superdelegates should the current frontrunner with more than a shady past be indicted. Her opponent is a populist socialist lauded by the college crowd who feels the burn. Just as chilling is the even more serious prospect of a GOP brokered convention to stop a populist who refuses to play by establishment rules and in doing so has captured demographics establishment candidates can only dream of. Following the 68 convention, another radical group formed at Ann Arbor, Michigan by Students for a Democratic Society called SDS. Founded by a radicalized Bill Ayers, the Weather Underground capitalized on the anti-Vietnam movement and the rise of the Black Panthers. The Weathermen, as they came to be called, participated in bombings of police stations and government installations like the Pentagon, along with riots that coincided with the trial of the Chicago 7, those who had been arrested on conspiracy charges the year before during the 68 Democratic Convention. Today, college campuses across the country have their own underground. Black Lives Matter, many of them who are being trained by MoveOn.org, who we now see showing up in larger and larger number at Trump rallies. The only impartiality they display is the fact they squeeze in an occasional Clinton event on their quest to whine and moan about their identity dilemma. And who do these self-proclaimed disenfranchised college youths look for inspiration? None other than Bernie Sanders, self-avowed democratic socialist who spews forth his own revolutionary rhetoric of government overthrow through redistribution economics. Yes, the parallels are as uncanny as they are eerie. Even more frightening, though, is the prospect this time around. While everyone acknowledges the inmates are running the asylum, no one in charge seems to care enough to put any of them back in their straitjackets. My guess is they just want to watch history repeat itself. Unfortunately, there are enough idiots running the streets to make it so. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. We're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hickos and Don Dix from Act for America. we're talking about the situation here with what's going on with the. Well, I guess the topic is, if I had to really put a name on it, things that the Democrats have done that the Republicans get blamed for. And when we talk about this current situation we've got with security breaches, apparently we have a president who thinks that there's classified and then there's classified, like super secret probation. You know, you remember that all scene in the Animal House movie where the dean comes into to a Delta house and he says, "Right now you're on super secret probation," and they're like, "What's that?" You know, he was talking about putting him on probation. And he said, "Well, we're already on probation." "Well, you're on super secret probation right now."
Yes.
I guess that's what Obama is kind of referring to. There's classified, and then there's just classified. Stuff that you can find in public documents that we have classified. It's not really classified. It doesn't really make any difference. If it's marked classified, it's classified, you know, period.
To downplay the severity of her security is just is mind-boggling, and to have it come from the quote-unquote commander in chief, the guy that everybody's supposed to. Hey, what? No wonder our military is in disarray.
Oh yeah.
It's little. I mean, because this is the kind of backpedaling, backtalk stupidity that, look, you wonder, people, we follow orders in the military.
Yeah, it's amazing to me because wow. Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
No, it just makes me. I can understand why people are so. They don't know whether they're coming or going anymore because of this kind of attitude that you get right from the top.
Right. Yeah, it's like, if I think it's okay, it's just like once Obama says something, he just assumes that everybody's just okay. Well, that's the end of the topic. That's the end of the story.
Well, he's full of crap. He says that you can get this stuff from open sources. Well, bull crap. You can't get it from open sources. That's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Talking about stuff that's coming. Special program office stuff. I mean, that's not open source stuff. Any stuff that you can just go out and find on the internet. The downplay it all is just it's just pathetic. I can't wait for this guy to get out of office so we can start cleaning up this mess.
Well, yeah, let's hope that we can do that. Don, I wanted to ask you,
but let's do it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Don. When along the line of this topic here, I made a really short list here of things that Democrats have done that Republicans have been blamed for. And we talk about, like I said, we just talked about the incarceration in the black community, the disproportionate amount of incarceration of blacks in America. And that's been blamed on, of course, racism and bigotry. But it is Bill Clinton that passed the law that initiated this whole process of coming down hard on gangs and everything else. We have now Loretta Lynch wanting to pull back on this and saying, if people cannot pay for their fines and everything, we don't want the city jailing them for it. We don't want the city. In fact, we're going to have amnesty days where we just declare fines, clear the books kind of thing. And by the way, just so you guys know this, I wasn't aware of this, but this actually originated, this concept of not fining people originated right here in California, believe it or not. Back in 2010, Governor Moonbeam began this movement to reduce the number of people that were being incarcerated and fined for not showing up at appearances and everything else. So apparently, as the old saying, as it goes in California, so does it with the rest of the nation. We talk about the terrorism in our country, the rise in terrorism, and it's based on stuff just like this, that we have a president who doesn't seem to think that anybody, we're taking terrorism too seriously. We don't have to worry about classified, that kind of stuff. We have the recession, the big thing. And they asked him, Obama the other night in the interview, what's the greatest thing you did? Oh, I saved the country from the Great Depression. Through the Great Recession, to his reinvestment or the stimulus bill that you talked about, but that began with the Community Reinvestment Act back in 1977. Jimmy Carter was the one that started that whole thing. So it goes down. The racism in the country was begun by the Democrats through the KKK. All these the war on women. Margaret Sanger.
Don, make him stop, Don. I'm going insane here.
I know. How many different directions can we go? Hey, so you're talking about this notion about, hey, there's inequality in our justice system and our justice system and prisons, and you started tracing back the source of the Great Recession of 2008 to the Community Reinvestment Act. There's a lot of what is going on now with the breakdown of the family that can be traced right back, to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. You remember the quote that's attributed to LBJ when he was on an airplane? He was talking to two people on an airplane, and the quote goes like this: "Once we pass this legislation, I'll have those quote unquote N-word voting Democrat for 200 years," when he's talking about passing this Great Society legislation. This is at the root of the Democratic Party. There's someone here in Southern California who is a talk radio. She's got her own TV show, Dr. Gina Loudon. Her husband was both a senator and a representative in the state. I think it was Arkansas or Oklahoma. I can't remember which state. But she said when her husband and his fellow legislators were at cocktail hour, the Democrats were the ones that uttered the most outlandish racial slurs in the entire group. And these are the ones who, when they're on the dais speaking in front of the legislature, are the ones that are talking about how the Republicans are racists. And yet, in their private conversations, these are the people that would have the most outlandish racial things to say. And it's believable because, here you've got LBJ saying that. Mm-hmm. So all of these things can be traced back to the policies that essentially broke apart the family unit within the African American community. And these guys do somersaults trying to deflect the source of all this. I mean, look at the communities that are having the most problems. You've got Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago. Are these run by Republicans? No. And yet, if they were run by Republicans, we know exactly what the media would be doing. They would be ripping these cities and sovereign states apart for their policies that are keeping the black man down. But they can't, because guess what? I grew up in Baltimore. I saw what it was doing to those communities there, and I saw how their tax and spend and then tax more in order to fix the problem and spend more policies chased the wealth. There was what they called white flight, and people that had the ability to sell their homes to move to Baltimore County. When I grew up, Baltimore County, which was the surrounding area north and northwest of Baltimore, was basically just nothing but huge farms. And when they started doing that, all of a sudden you saw these communities grow up where they had never existed before because people wanted to move out from Baltimore. Those that could moved out. And so you had this death spiral of economic tragedy and I went back around Johns Hopkins University, which, is a very great place. Geographic, just the social construct around Johns Hopkins University. There were neighborhoods of row homes I used to drive by when I was a kid, dreaming of being able to move in there. You know what? When I went back in 2006 in order to settle my mom's estate, those neighborhoods were completely empty. The homes were rotting. They were boarded up. Mm-hmm. Because why? Because of the policies of the city fathers, which were characteristically liberal. And it led right to what we saw in Baltimore when you had that tragic death of the guy in police custody. This is what they do. This is the way they operate. And then they take it and they make this national spectacle out of it that ultimately, to close the conversation out, was where you started, Black Lives Matter, which was born out of Ferguson in Baltimore, holding Bill...
lie.
What?
It was born out of a lie.
Yeah, exactly. But it was born in order to perpetuate this narrative that you're talking about, which is, that, these families aren't responsible for this. Well, to a degree, they're not, but it's the policies that created this setup.
Well, yeah. I remember just reading it just a couple of weeks ago about a neighborhood out in Chicago where the city council people are upset that they're putting in a Starbucks. And the reason why is because it would upgrade the quality of the neighborhood too much. Believe it or not, that was the argument. We don't want you're gonna bring in people that are more affluent to come into a place like this because there's a Starbucks. And I'm thinking, well, somebody should tell Starbucks that, because I think Starbucks is one of the biggest advocates of homosexuality, or the homosexual agenda right now. Maybe they should be filing a lawsuit there. I don't know. But just let me close this up here because we got to take a break here real quick. You were talking about the Democrats and how they espouse a lot of the most profane references. If it just back in 2008, wasn't it Bill Clinton who was quoted saying to Joe Biden that just 10 years ago Obama would be bringing us our coffee?
Right. It's like and Joe Biden who said they want to put y'all back in chains.
Yeah.
If a Republican said that about Democrats, even though it's true, if a Republican said that about Democrats, they would have been forced to resign over the firestorm.
Yeah. We got to go to a quick break here. This is our short break. We'll be right back with Don Dix and Joe Hayko. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washing washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Okay, hey, we're back. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, and we're coming up on the end of the show. But what I want to do, I want to start with you, Joe, and then we'll jump over to Don here. We'll give Don the last word for the day. What do you think? This idea here, you know, that Obama's out there telling us that Clinton didn't really do anything that endangered anything. Hillary last week was literally laughing off Matt Lair when he asked him, are you concerned about what's going on with this investigation? And what do you think, Joe? Do you think somebody will at least recommend indictment?
I don't think there's going to be a damn thing happen to her. There's not going to be anything happen to her. They're laughing about it because, as Don alluded before, when you have him saying that there's not going to be anything unfair, or she's not going to be treated unfairly, or anything special with her, you know she's already being treated that way. So nothing's going to happen to her. This Justice Department is the Injustice Department, just as it was under Holder, as it is under Lynch, until Obama leaves. And I don't know if we have. I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime. All the fix the damage that this Obama administration and his friends have done to this country. I don't know if I'll ever see it repaired.
What about you, Don? What do you think?
I think that embodied in all of this is example out of example out of example. You just had former NFL player Will Smith in New Orleans was shot by black on black crime. This stuff just it just goes on and on and on. And until we can get, I don't know what it's going to take to get control of government, because we were told about, give us the Congress, give us the Senate, and now we're fighting over giving them the White House, and yet we still don't get results. I think it boils down to this, guys. Until more and more people, and that's one of the great things about this primary season, actually, more people are becoming aware. In fact, I was saying on the talk show that, the Jen and Don show I do daily, to Jennifer, I don't think 5 years ago most people understood the difference between a caucus and a straight primary state, where delegates are based on the vote at large. People are becoming aware of the political process, of what it takes. This thing in Colorado where, Cruz is getting blamed for being dishonest when all he did was play by the rules that Colorado gave him to play by. People are getting more aware. And that's a good thing. And people need to continue that process and actually move that awareness into involvement in their community at the basic levels of city council, school board, because until, famous jurist said, Judge Brandeis, the most important political office in the country is that of private citizen. And until Americans start taking back their role as the political boss, we're never going to get out of this problem. And we're beginning to see people are starting to take that more seriously.
And then, so the question really comes down to, or boils down to, is if people are seeing it in time to reverse it.
That is the $1 million question. And are enough people seeing it? And can we get can we reverse the momentum? I see signs of the left cracking here and there. Their narratives beginning to crack. The mainstream media, holding them to account in certain little isolated spaces. But ultimately, it's both the citizens getting involved and taking back the schools that are the most critical things. Mm-hmm. Is there enough time? I don't know, but that doesn't stop me from doing it. Whether there's time or enough, based on what I now know, it's like you have no option. The enemy is here, whether it's a national security issue with radical Islam or schools, preaching Marxist socialist policies to, our second and third and fourth graders. We have to do what we have to do.
Yeah, well, my feelings are pretty much this, and I've said it several times in the show, and I'm going to stick by it right now, is the idea that one of two things is we will know after November one of two things. Either the God above has heard our cry and is in the process of helping us reverse this, or we are heading into some serious judgment. It's going to be our captivity, as I like to refer to it as. It's got to be one or the other. We're not at a place anymore where we can sit here and I think honestly go, well, it could get better, it could get worse, and if we just do this or just that, we're at that place where I think the idea that we have as a nation pretty much just kind of moved God out of the picture, and both sides, either through willful ignorance or total rebellion, have just kind of said, the world's messed up. Let's do something to fix it rather than returning back to what has made us great to begin with. One of those two things are happening right now. I don't know, in response to what Joe was saying, I'm not really concerned so much if Hillary gets indicted. What I'm hoping is that the FBI at least recommends it, at least comes out and says, well, we recommend something happen here, because that can change the course of public opinion. And who knows where that could lead. It could also trigger something on the Democrat side of like, let's pull Uncle Joe out of the old farts home and put him on the ticket. I don't know, how that's going to work. Anyway, it remains to be seen. It's interesting to watch, but I don't know. Well,
you make an interesting statement there, and that is, will the FBI, pass along a recommendation to indict? That, I think, is the most important thing that they do. Loretta Lynch is busy looking into prosecuting climate change deniers right now. So,
yes.
So who knows if she's got time to take on a Hillary Clinton, grand jury prosecution.
Right.
But that's a great point you end on. It's important for James Comey to follow the truth where it leads him, and we'll see what he recommends.
Yeah,
that would be the ideal thing for him to do that. But and Don, you're right. It's nice to see people finally maybe waking up and getting involved. But you know what? Do it intelligently. Don't just do it because someone woke you up out of a sound sleep and you just go thrashing about, which just seems to be a lot of that's going on right now. There's a lot of thrashing about going on because somebody just woke up to something. Do it intelligently. Get all this Zelensky tactics that's been going on this whole spring is just ridiculous. It's madness of what's going on out here, and to watch the press, the quote unquote media, gleefully report it all. It's just it's kind of reinforces the fact that there is no good media in this country anymore. Right. We are the new media. We are at least going to be honest about stuff.
Right.
Amen.
What you're seeing now, that you hear in the majority, that every time you turn on a radio or something or turn on a TV, that is just mind-bogglingly I feel stupid every time I hear it anymore. I feel like I'm losing IQ points.
You make a good point. Don't just thrash about. You see the thrashing in the way that Donald Trump supporters are reacting to what happened in Colorado. First, take a look at the way that Colorado set its system up, and then you'll realize that it's not that it's not Ted Cruz that was the problem. Right. It was Colorado's system.
Right. Well, it was Colorado's voters. It was the citizens of Colorado that let it happen.
Yeah. I get that, but the fact is that Donald Trump did not do what he needed to do to figure out how to win Colorado. And that's the thing that scares me about a Donald Trump president.
I got to interrupt you guys because we're over time right now. We're actually past 5 o'clock. So just want to thank you again and give a shout out to all you guys out there Shake and Wake in the chat room that stuck with us today, and all of you other listeners who are just loyal to us. We thank you so much. We'll be back on the air tomorrow, 3 o'clock out here in the West Coast, 6 on the East Coast. The ConservativeSyndicate.net. God bless y'all.
Tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the ConservativeSyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.